Have you ever felt like the world is spinning too fast, and no matter how hard you try, you can't seem to keep up? What if one day, while chasing your dreams or just trying to survive, something unexpected made you stop in your tracks? Something that changed everything. Where are you watching this from right now? Are you curled up on a couch somewhere cozy, or maybe sitting at work during a quick break? Let me know where you're tuning in from in the comments below. And hey, don't forget to hit that like button before we dive deeper. It's a small gesture, but it means so much. This story I'm about to share is for people just like you. People who believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of truth. Let's talk about Derek Monroe. He wasn't your typical CEO with fancy suits and private jets. No, Derek had built his empire from scratch, a chain of grills called Flame and Flavor, now spread across the country. But despite his success, he carried an ache inside him, a fear that he'd lost touch with what truly mattered, his employees. They were the backbone of his business, yet they felt distant to him now. So when he decided to go undercover as a customer, he didn't expect it would lead him straight into the heart of a secret that would shake him to his core. Let's dive to see. Derek stood outside one of his busiest locations, tucked away in a bustling neighborhood. The air smelled faintly of grilled vegetables and spices wafting through the open door. His disguise was simple, a baseball cap pulled low over his face and a plain gray hoodie. Stepping inside, he joined the short line of customers waiting to order. Behind the counter stood two team members, Mia, a young woman with curly hair tied back in a messy bun, and Jake, a tall guy whose sleeves were rolled up to reveal tattoos peeking out from under his arms. Both looked exhausted, their smiles forced as they handled orders non-stop. Derek ordered a burrito, glancing around casually, pretending to check his phone. "Hey, did you hear?" Mia whispered suddenly, her voice barely audible above the hum of chatter and sizzling pans. She leaned closer to Jake, her eyes darting nervously toward the kitchen entrance. "About Kayla?" Jake froze mid-motion, his hand hovering over the cash register. "No," he replied sharply, his tone laced with suspicion. "What about her?" Mia hesitated, chewing on her bottom lip. "I heard she got fired last week. Something about messing up inventory numbers." "Fired?" Derek's stomach tightened. Kayla had been with the company for years, always reliable. If anyone deserved loyalty, it was her. Yet here was this rumor, spreading quietly among the staff like wildfire. Why hadn't anyone mentioned it to him? Or worse, was there more to the story than met the eye? Jake sighed heavily, shaking his head. "Man, I don't know what's going on anymore. First Kayla, then those weird emails about cutting hours." His voice trailed off, filled with frustration. "It feels like they're picking us off one by one." "They?" Derek muttered under his breath, gripping the edge of the counter tightly. Who exactly were they referring to? Was it upper management making decisions without consulting him? Or was there someone else pulling strings behind the scenes? Before he could think further, Mia glanced toward the line and quickly plastered on a polite smile. "Your burrito will be ready in just a moment," she told Derek, handing him a receipt. He nodded numbly, stepping aside to wait. But his mind raced. Cutting hours? Rumors flying around? It all felt wrong, like pieces of a puzzle scattered across the floor. Now let me pause here for a second. Have you ever worked somewhere where things seemed unfair, where decisions felt random and cruel? Maybe you've been in Mia or Jake's shoes, wondering why no one seems to care about your struggles. If so, tell me in the comments. I want to hear your story because it matters. Don't forget to press that like button either. Every bit of support helps keep stories like these alive. Back to Derek. As he waited, he noticed a flyer taped to the wall near the drink station. It read, "Employee Appreciation Night canceled due to budget cuts." Below it, someone had scribbled angrily in red marker, "Budget cuts my foot." Derek stared at the graffiti, feeling a lump rise in his throat. When had appreciation nights become expendable? Hadn't he specifically approved funding for them just months ago? The guilt gnawed at him. Somewhere along the way, he'd stopped paying attention. Flame and Flavor wasn't just a brand. It was supposed to be a family. Now it felt fractured, broken. And the worst part, he realized he might be the reason why. When his burrito finally came, Derek took it and stepped outside, finding a quiet bench nearby. He unwrapped it slowly, staring at the perfectly grilled tortilla without taking a bite. Instead, he thought about Kayla. Where was she now? Did she have another job? What had really happened? Determined to find answers, he pulled out his phone and dialed his assistant back at headquarters. "Get me Kayla's file," he said firmly. and schedule a meeting with HR first thing tomorrow morning. Later that evening, Derek sat alone in his office, surrounded by stacks of paperwork and glowing screens. Kayla's file lay open in front of him, revealing details that made his blood boil. According to the report, she'd allegedly falsified inventory records, not once, not twice, but multiple times over several weeks. The evidence seemed damning, yet something didn't sit right with him. Kayla wasn't the type to cut corners. She prided herself on being meticulous, almost obsessively organized. There had to be more to the story. He picked up the phone again, dialing Kayla's number. After several rings, a hesitant voice answered. "Hello? Kayla, it's Derek Monroe," he said gently. "Can we meet tomorrow? I need to talk to you about something important." There was a long pause on the other end. "Mr. Monroe, I didn't think you'd ever call." Her words hit him like a punch to the gut. How many others felt the same way? Forgotten, invisible, abandoned by the very person who should have been looking out for them? The next day, Derek met Kayla at a quiet cafe down the street. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes betraying sleepless nights. Still, she held herself with dignity, refusing to let bitterness creep into her tone as she explained what had happened. "It started with missing stock," she began softly. "At first, it was small amounts, boxes of produce here and there. I reported it, but no one listened. Then the discrepancies grew larger, and suddenly, everyone pointed fingers at me. By the time HR got involved, it was too late. My reputation was already ruined." Derek listened intently, his jaw tightening. Someone had set her up. But who? And why? As Kayla spoke, a memory surfaced in Derek's mind. A conversation he'd had months earlier with his CFO, Brad. At the time, Brad had suggested restructuring certain departments to cut costs. Could Brad have orchestrated this entire mess to eliminate loyal employees and bring in cheaper replacements? Anger surged within Derek, but he forced himself to stay calm. For now, he needed proof. Turning to Kayla, he promised, "We'll fix this. Together." By the end of the week, Derek had gathered enough evidence to confront Brad. The showdown took place in a boardroom, the tension thick enough to slice with a knife. Brad stammered and denied everything, but the documents spoke louder than any excuses. In the end, Brad resigned, leaving Derek to pick up the pieces. But rebuilding trust wouldn't be easy. Over the following months, Derek implemented changes, regular town halls with employees, transparent communication channels, and reinstating benefits that had been stripped away. Slowly but surely, the atmosphere at Flame and Flavor began to shift. Smiles returned to faces, laughter echoed through the halls, and for the first time in years, Derek felt connected to the people who mattered most. So what's the lesson here? Sometimes the hardest truths are the ones staring us right in the face. Success isn't measured by profit margins or flashy titles. It's measured by how well we treat the people around us. Take a moment to reflect. Are there areas in your life where you've grown disconnected? People you've neglected or promises you've forgotten? If so, it's never too late to make amends. Thank you for sticking with me until the end. You're amazing, truly. Before you go, drop a comment letting me know which part of the story resonated with you the most. And don't forget to hit that like button if you enjoyed it. Your support keeps stories like these coming. Until next time, take care of yourself and each other.